Okay, hello everybody. It's very nice to see you over here on the platform, on the live chat. This is Festival Internacional de Danza para la Pantalla, Movimiento en Movimiento, en su edición número 9. This is the Screen Dance Festival Movimiento en Movimiento, edition number 9, that is still online. And all the pieces will be there in the platform of Hypermedia Zone until November 7th. So we have all these creators to speak about their pieces, and if they want to speak also about the other pieces. In general, the program is in Spanish, preguntas sin respuesta. These are questions without answer. And these are, I write here, this is the experimentation, freedom, risk, and research for the avant-garde exercise via movement, music, no-dance, or a sick body, or coming from ordinary expressions on social networks, and also an explicit and humor debate about traditional screen dance gender, because all these pieces are supposed to be here because they are screen dance pieces, but some of them do not have dance at all, or they are strange pieces that come from the experimentation. So we are going to talk about all these here, and we are a festival in Mexico. I'm sorry, I'm not going to translate everything into Spanish. This talk is going to be in English, so I hope later we can play subtitles to this film. Can you please, would you like to introduce yourself, please? We can start just to my right side. Thomas, can you introduce yourself and your piece?
Yes, my name is Thomas Renoldner, and I made this film called Don't Know What. And I would say, in short words, it's an attempt to mix up avant-garde film with entertainment. Yeah, I'm very interested to look at the rules and the conventions of different art forms. And I'm reflecting them in let's say, in a humorous way. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Thomas. Could you please introduce yourself, Mitchell?
I'm Mitchell Rose. I'm a professor of dance filmmaking at The Ohio State University here in Columbus, Ohio. My piece that you're seeing is called The Case Against Dance Film. And a disempower point. It's a COVID-inspired rethinking of a life's work. It was originally going to be a PowerPoint presentation that I did at a festival, but when the festival was canceled, when the whole world was canceled, I decided to just make it into a film instead.
Thank you, Mitchell. Could you please, Anna, introduce yourself and your piece?
Yeah, thank you. I'm Anna MacDonald, and I'm an artist and I'm an academic from the UK. I work as a researcher at Manchester Metropolitan University. And the piece showing here is called Reasonable Adjustments, and it's part of a larger project that ran over a year, working with Kerry Morgan from Kiel and a group of people that have conditions that cause them chronic pain.
Thank you, Anna. And please, Seema, could you introduce yourself?
Okay, my name is Seema Gonsa. I'm a screen dance director. I'm based in Birmingham in the UK. And the film that we recently made is called Suspended Motion. It's a collaboration between myself and the charity CETS. CETS are a provider of art provisions for people with complex disabilities and also people who are deafblind. So this particular film really looks at how can people experience dance who are complex disabled and deafblind, and how do they also express themselves with dance as well. So it's a pilot project that kind of looks at dance through the senses, and it's one of a trilogy. So this particular film, you see how deafblind dancers perform, as well as we look at ways of audio describing that particular dance as well. But the kind of other side to this project is also experience dance through vibration. So the whole film has been interpreted through vibration technology, which unfortunately we couldn't share that due to COVID, and that it would be an installation piece. But just to let you know that this is kind of part of a three-part exploration of accessible dance in film.
Okay, thank you all. I'm going to show just a little bit of the piece that is named "Don't Know What" by Thomas Reynolds. So we can remember a little bit what it is about. Just some minutes of this piece. So I'm going to share it with all you here at this moment. I'm just going to play with choreograph and timing, so I'm going to advance it.
I'm just experimenting. I have no idea.
Okay, that's it. We could see this is about 8 minutes. So could we? Well, we are here all together because of a reason. Could you tell us a little bit, Thomas, how do you feel in this program of experimentation? How did you arrive to the festival, and why did you do this piece?
To unmute. I have to unmute my microphone. So these are three questions. I feel very, very nice in this program. In the afternoon, I watched all the other films, and I have questions to all of my colleagues here, because I found it very inspiring to be in this program. I think it. But it was in fact a coincidence. A dance film festival in Italy discovered my film, and they said this could fit into a dance film program, and I never would have thought about that my film would be a dance film. But they invited, and the name of the festival is Fuori Formato, and I think this also describes a bit my intention, like to ask the format, to ask about the conventions of filmmaking, and try to break them in a way. So, and I think all of you are doing these things. So there are some similarities, maybe in an intellectual sense, even if the films are very different. So I feel very nice in this program, and I really enjoyed to watch the other ones. And why did I do this film? It actually starts from the music, from the interest in music, and from the interest to experiment with my voice, but of course also to experiment with the single frame editing method. And as I said in the beginning, I think one important motivation was to see how much entertainment is allowed in avant-garde film. I really pointed like that, because avant-garde very often is very strict and dogmatic in a way, and if you're too funny, they don't take you serious anymore. So I really kind of try to push it in a way, so to do an experimental film, but to put humor into it and to see if it still works. And I found out it doesn't. So at avant-garde film festivals, they tend to reject my film. It's not true to all of them. I mean, but yeah, I heard many arguments that, and there was one scene. There is a eye flickering, and I had to burst out laughing when I saw it myself. It looked so stupid. I thought, this is so stupid. I have to show it. I risk a lot of reputation. If I put this stupid scene in my film, it might be that the intellectuals say, no, it's funny. We don't accept it. And it happened. And the other situation, I like to be in animation festivals, and I was really afraid that the animation festival was too experimental. But then the opposite happened, and animation festivals, they really accepted the film, and it was shown a lot. It won the Grand Prix in Ottawa, and so on and so on. So it was very successful in animation festivals. And I think because it's funny. So that's very interesting. Yeah. So what are the preferences of different, let's say, film fan clubs? Because sometimes they are really small clubs. I have the impression in their boxes, and to look over the box, see what's happened in the other box. That was my intention. Excuse me for the long talk. Yeah.
No, it's perfect. Thank you. So would you guys like to, I mean, Mitchell and Sima, would you like to comment something on this film? If you saw it, just if you find it fine in a screen dance festival?
To comment on Thomas's film?
Tell me?
To comment on Thomas's film. That's what you're asking?
Yes. I think it is, yeah.
I loved what I saw just now. I wish I had seen the whole thing, and I will look forward to going back. But that is so refreshing. You know what it kind of reminds me of is scratching. You know, when a DJ goes, zook, 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 you know what I mean? It's like you have, as if you can imagine a video stretched out and on vinyl, and you were able to just kind of like do that. And you really spoke to me when you talked about when things are entertaining, how it's not taken seriously. Because this is, since my time first as a choreographer and now as a filmmaker, that I've been running up against that prejudice for always. When I was a young choreographer and I began creating somber work in the beginning, because that's what I knew, that there was that prejudice in the art world, that the more serious a work is, well, the more somber a work is, the more serious it's taken. And those are the people who get work and who get money. And I decided to abandon that and just do work that was going to come more naturally from my heart and from my voice. And I think my work got better when I began being more true to myself. So what you said really resonated with me, because that's something that I've been dealing with my whole life. And I proudly say that I try to have my work be equal parts art and entertainment. And that when work becomes entertaining, you can have work be entertaining and not sacrifice your artistic sensibility.
Yeah. I must say, Mitchell. I felt very familiar to your film, to your work. Also, I really enjoyed it, and yeah, thank you.
Yeah, both films have a lot of humor, and it is strange. Normally, when you are in dance, you take everything normally, not all of them, but you take everything very seriously, and you express many different feelings except humor. So this is nice to have humor sometimes.
But I must say, excuse me, I also saw humor in Anna's film, to be honest.
Yeah.
Oh yes,
I find it funny.
And I was very, maybe because I was in this mood of being in this mood of humor after seeing Mitchell's film. Then I watched yours, and I was entertained by your film as well. I heard the interview afterwards, and I was also very interested in this dialogue between the camera and the actors. It was very, very interesting, and I did not know about the situation of the actors. I heard this afterwards. But when I saw it first, I also find it kind of it had very funny moments for me.
Yeah. So what you're saying is that Simma's film is a real drag, then?
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
I mean, I think we can all agree on that.
Really safe, serious route.
Oh, it's a delight. I love the attention to detail in this film. It's a real joy. You know, like I love staying with that fraction of a moment, and that's really delightful to me. The kind of rigor of that, and then your sense of timing is really beautiful. You know, how you lead us into relaxing into one thing, and then we come out, and then we rest, and then it, you know, it's really choreographic in that sense. And I'm not sure the kind of boxes are that prevalent now. I don't know. I'm not so involved in screen dance, but my sense is that it's less of a thing now, and your work would fit really well in lots of different contexts, but it has that choreographic eye, you know, that sense of timing, which is really lovely to see it taken to that extreme. And it's so clean. It's so beautifully clean. It's pristine. I've seen so much kind of Zoom now, which is all grainy like this, that actually it kind of felt refreshing to my eyes to see something so beautifully pixelatedly lovely. It was great.
It's a beautifully fresh look, just the black and white.
Yeah. I was smiling all the way through, and I really want to see the whole film now. I'm not liking the way that the word entertainment is kind of being seen as a word that shouldn't be used for avant-garde or screen dance films, and I think it needs to be turned on its head a little bit, which is why I really liked watching your film. The sound was amazing. You know, I just loved it. The whole thing was carried through the sound from the clips that I saw. You know, I think the reason why people don't go down the route of entertainment or comedies, because it's really hard to do. I think it's actually one of the hardest areas of film that to try and not get right, but to express within. So it's really great to see something different. It's refreshing, as Mitchell said. So.
But I think that's part of something that you bring up, Mitchell, in your work about the sort of low self-esteem of dance, and Simon Ellis puts it really beautifully, that we're constantly trying to sit at the table with the big boys, like there's something in us that goes, oh, we'd really love to, but we're not quite there. So if we try and do this, or we surround it by this discourse, or if we, I don't know, we'd like, there's something about that just tries a bit too hard, and then we don't need to. It's all there. And actually, what I see more and more is that actually fine art and places like that just come and poach what we do, that they want to come to us. And we should celebrate that more. It's really lovely to just sit there and go, no, this is what we do. And you need to come. You need to come to us. And if it isn't already available to you, then you need to work a little bit harder, right? It's like I like that assertion of well, I mean, you're kind of saying everything's rubbish, but like that assertion of value, which is in that piece.
It's that one part of the essay is the thing that I really believe in. Everything else is tongue in cheek. But the thing about low self-esteem in dance, particularly in academia, because I'm at a university, and I just feel like that everyone is constantly trying to prove themselves that like we are worthy of being considered. As you say, like at the big boys table, that even like when I first came to the university here 9 years ago, when I got the job, and they said, and they were talking about your research portfolio, and I went like, what do you mean research? Like what you do? You mean my films? Yeah, my film. It's like we have to call it research because that's the word. This is a research university that I'm at, and it doesn't like to saying I'm making or I'm making art or something like that doesn't have worth. It doesn't have value. So you have to say I'm doing research.
You have to frown as you say the word research. You have to frown.
Yeah.
That's important. Okay.
My research is at the intersection of fun and stupid. So.
Well, something that I also like about these two pieces that we are kind of speaking about by Thomas and Mitchell is that they, in the same film, they are asking about the screen dance, or they are asking about the experimental work that they are doing, because the main question of Thomas Reynolds is, what am I doing? I don't know what I am doing. And Mitchell Rose is also questioning screen dance from inside the screen dance. Let's go to see just a very little part of Case Against Screen Dance by Mitchell Rose. I'm going to share it in the screen. Oh, sorry, this is not. I'm going to share it with you. Just we get inside the context of his film, just for those who didn't have time to see part of it.
I could perform it if you need.
Okay. You could.
That's a good part, yeah, with the rock music.
I'm Mitchell Rose, self-hating professor of dance film at Ohio State University. I recently had some free time, and looking to fill that free time, I've been watching a lot of dance film. For 20 years, I've been singing the praises of dance film. But times like this can bring a new clarity. And I've come to realize that my life's work has been a waste. I'd like to here present my new view in a talk I shall call The Case Against Dance Film. Culture, in its eternal quest for novelty, has long made awkward attempts to force disparate art forms together. We saw this in the 60s with the fad of pottery tapping. We saw it when the 19th century suffered through the short-lived cameo puppet polka. This phenomenon even dates back to the Paleolithic period with its rock music. Raw. All these synergistic blunders had the good sense to die ignominious deaths. But one art form lingers, curdling in the back of civilization's mini fridge, well beyond its expiration date. Dance film, aka screen dance, aka video dance, aka dance on camera, aka dance for camera, aka dance for the camera, aka whatever someone starts using this month. This field doesn't even know its own name, like a wild child stumbling out of the woods. Oh, look, there's the wild child now. What are you going to call yourselves today? Come on, Tally, beat it. Dignity. Isn't that what it's a question of? Dance, which suffers low self-esteem issues in its relationship both to the art world and to academia, perpetually tries to make itself more relevant by clutching onto technology like a flea on a greyhound. Hence, dance film, because media has always been so cool. It starts in 1895 with dance film's attempts at dazzling the spectator with actual color. To 2020, when dance film has convinced itself it has at last found the best angle for viewing the subtleties of the human body in motion. Ha ha ha, I'm being sarcastic. The fictitious French philosopher Simon Marsange said, "Dance is the most essential of the art forms. Quite simply, it is humanity raw and pure. Purity and balance in living form."
Okay, that's it. I think it's quite enough. So it is very nice. We can continue seeing it, but maybe it's enough to know what it's happening here. I am so curious about to know why, Mitchell, you do this phenomenous film criticizing, and suddenly in the interview you say, "Oh, but I don't subscribe all I said because I am happy with everybody, because I am not criticizing everybody. It was just something that occurred to the pass through my mind." So when are you going to be sincere, and when are you going to say the truth? What do you think about screen dance?
I think dance film is great. I'm much more interested in dance film than dance. I actually can't stand to watch dance anymore. No, I can stand it. Nah, in small doses. But I think dance film is much more intimate than dance. You would think that having an actual human body there in front of you, you would say is more intimate. But I think like the fact that dance film can get right up there and look in someone's eyes, dance film grants access to the human experience in a much more personal way. It's as if like the audience was invited to come up on the stage and just kind of like walk around inspecting everybody, instead of like having to sit 100 feet back, you know, watching all the little people all being equal size over there. So anyway, I do like dance film a lot. I think it's certainly inevitable that the future of dance is intertwined with dance film because of media. That of course it's the dance will try to have a relationship with media, and it's I mean for a number of reasons. One is economics, that it's just very expensive for people to put on, for young dance artists to put on a show. Are you going to like rent a theater? Are you going to pay dancers some money to do it? Are you going to hire a lighting designer? Are you going to print posters and things? It's phenomenally expensive. Whereas like everybody has a camera and an editing platform right here, and you can make work for virtually no money that's very innovative and that will probably reach more people in a few hours than would have ever seen your performance. So who wouldn't want a piece of that? Anyway, that's just talking about the economic aspect. I mean, I think it also has more dramatic impact, and yeah, I'm a big believer in the form. I do, however, have a contrarian personality that I always have to be able to argue. Like a lawyer, you have to be able to argue both sides, right? So I've been attending and speaking at a lot of festivals for many years. And whenever I go and everybody's just going, rah, rah, this, rah, rah, this, I always want to go, well, what about that? You know, I always like want to argue the other side. So this just felt like it would be a fun, entertaining exercise to argue the contrarian point of view. So there's a few things in there that I agree with. For example, like, you know, the fact that of having how popular drone photography is right now in dance film, that's the stupidest thing ever, is to like reduce the human body to a dot. You know, like moving around. It's great if you want to show the map of where people are going, but it doesn't show the human body in motion. So
it's a shame mine's shot entirely with a drone, Mitchell.
Feels like
it's not.
Sorry.
But it would be funny if it was.
Okay. Oh.
Do you guys, Thomas, Anna, Sima, have whatever a comment on this film?
Yeah,
who's going first? I really enjoyed it because I'm not a dancer or a choreographer, so my interest in dance film was purely through the camera and as a director. So it was, you know, I'm kind of quite removed from the whole dance side of things. You know, I don't really know what goes into putting on a performance on stage. And so it's really great to have your perspective, Mitchell, on what dance film is, especially from a dancer, you know, when you've got those dancers' point of view and the choreographer's point of view, and the kind of the feelings that go with that as well. So yeah, it's just, again, it was just a really great take on it, especially at the fact that we've got so many names for this genre, you know, and it just like keeps, you know, it's just morphing itself. The more that it's almost like the more techniques are explored, the more it morphs, you know.
Yeah.
But I think we all have our own interpretations with it, and it's you know, many people ask me, what is screen dance? I think it's one of the hardest questions to answer, I find, personally, because there's just so many different takes on it, and each person has their own way, their own approach to it. But I just wish that everybody I knew could watch your film, just to kind of like, just to kind of unpick it in the way that you have, you know, because it just have that sense of, you know, sometimes ableism and contemporary and all these different kind of things that can be associated with the genre. So it's kind of like, yeah, let's, you know. Yeah, so I liked it very much. It was great to see it when you released it as well, which I think was maybe March or April. When lockdown.
I was going to do it at Cinedance, which is at the end of March, and so I think I released this in April.
So it was just really good timing to see that, because it's almost like the whole world was in lockdown. Your film came out just as every single probably dance organization was thinking, we've got to go digital. And then your film came out. So it was like, good. Yeah. You know, we were setting the foundations here. But yeah, great.
Well, every dance company did go digital by beginning to copy my other films, Exquisite Core and So Say All of Us, which has now been replicated about 300 or 400 times.
Totally, yeah.
Thank you, Sima. Some comments, Thomas, Anna?
No, it's not. I enjoy it's lovely. The play of the pottery tap, I think, is a genius invention, and I sort of really wished it was. You know, I had quite a desire for that to be real. I haven't Googled it, but I would like to, you know, just in case somebody somewhere.
Well, I don't think so.
But they should. But they should.
I'm trying
the play is great, and I think that there is a sort of certain fragility, I think, about screen dance sometimes, which can produce quite defensive responses, and it's really nice to be playful around that, you know, and there's a warmth there as well, because obviously, you know, young practitioners, they will do the contact impro next to a ruin wearing underwear, and that's, you know, that's what they will go through. And of course they'll go through, and we probably all made that stuff ourselves, and you go through it and you mature and you start making more choices and being less invested in the narcissism. And so that, you know, it still felt like there was a warmth there in what you're saying, because it's playful. But, you know, and I enjoyed that. And I agree with Seema that I think it's really important to look at why we're doing things, you know, rather than to keep replicating tropes that perhaps are less helpful, less examined. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Anna. Would you like to say something, Thomas?
Yes. I like your work because it's ironic and it talks about conventions, and I can understand that you're very familiar with this genre, and probably you show quite significantly what you also hate in certain types and in certain conventions. It makes me curious how your own work look like, because I'm not familiar to the dance film area, you know. It makes me very curious what your own films look like, and if this ironic approach is an exception, or if other films of yours are similar. So, but yeah, I have to follow and I have to watch. Probably it's not a question, just a statement.
Well, you're in for a treat, because you can just go to mitchellrose.com and see 25 or 30 films and find out for yourself.
I will do that. Yeah.
Of course, we are. Sorry, I'm going to just give you a message by Carmen, the Mexican who wanted to be here. She says, "Hi guys, I'm Carmen. Sorry to everyone for not being able to be with you in the platform, but I'm here on YouTube watching this." So she, yes, hello, Carmen. Everybody says hello. So she will be here watching, and later I'm going to show a part of her piece, so we can talk about it. But at this moment, I think it is time to show Anna's film. Are you happy with that, Anna?
Yeah.
Of course. I'm going over there. Just a moment. I hope she shall be happy. Why not?
Yeah.
So it is there
again.
Loading.
Wow, I don't know why. So this is not the piece, of course.
I like it though.
It would be very experimental, wouldn't it? If I just
this is quite experimental.
Your next piece.
There is a web page you can go to that does nothing but say loading.
Oh God.
It never stops.
Well, this is too much experimental, but not that much. Let me try again to bring it back. we all are happy to see it, but if it's possible.
Well, I can always describe it so people get the gist.
Yes, I think you can start describing, please, if you feel happy in this program. And
well, it's interesting because one of the things I really loved about Simmer's was the audio description. So I'll attempt that now for something that you can't see. So there are two screens. It's a split screen, and on one side is a performer called Sophie Powell, and the other side is a performer called John Mills. And both of them, the camera is moving. Oh, here we go. Maybe you'll see it. Okay, I'll let you watch it now if it's going to work.
I don't know. Oh, yes. It's working now. Well, we shall continue, but maybe you can tell us something about it, please, Anna.
Sure. Yeah. So this, this is called Reasonable Adjustments, and it's from an exhibition which was originally about 6 different pieces. And so this was originally seen on 2 different screens that were placed next to each other, and then I reworked it for one screen to show as a single screen work. So it's shifted quite a lot from the way it was originally conceived. So it's interesting to see it on its own like this. And it came from, a lot of the work that I did with these people. We met over a year, and we did walking and lots of talking and writing and drawing and moving, lots of somatic tasks together, thinking about the relationship of movement and progression and their experience of chronic pain. And one of the things that came up a lot was their really sort of intense creativity, like how they would respond to their bodies, which were one day able to do this, another day able to do something quite different. One environment that's adapted for them, another environment that isn't. So all the time they're negotiating and responding, and in a really extraordinary way. And I thought, they're dancing, they're improvising, they're responding, and and it's something that's less seen. You know, I think a lot of the time the way that movement with chronic pain is represented is something difficult. It's something that is, you know, the kind of wonder of it isn't seen so much. And so we wanted to do something where the form reflected that. So the camera is moving and they're responding, and you know, that most of the time there are very few adjustments made for them at all, reasonable or otherwise. And so it causes them a lot of pain when they move because the environment isn't adapted. And so we're still, you know, there is a celebration of what they're doing, but it's also something a little bit difficult because in moving the camera, we're making them move, or they have the choice to move or not to move. And that does cause pain, but then we don't show that, you know, so there's some complexities in there and how we're dealing with that. And sometimes it's shown with another version where you can see their whole body. So you can see how difficult it is for them to get to that place of keeping visible, you know. So they have different conditions which really affect their mobility. And sometimes you can see it in some of the shots. But most of the time you just see the end result, you know, which, you know, again, you know, that came up a lot in discussions that people don't know how much it cost to come and meet you today, like how long that dynamic planning of the journey, the taking care of the body, how much energy they'll have, what costs there'll be the next day if they've done this today. None of that is visible. And all you see is the person there, you know, and that, you know, that really struck me, that cost just isn't, we don't realize, you know.
Thank you. And also it is strange, I mean, it is a screen dance because you declare it is a screen dance, but sometimes people are expecting to see dancers moving and not all this theory about a comparison between pain and two squares and two people who are not really representing more than themselves. So how this is also a statement that screen dance can be this. Could you say something about it, or anybody?
Well, I'm not sure I'm making that statement. I suppose, you know, you get the boxes, don't you, when you submit films, and often there isn't a box. Or so I put screen dance. It is about movement. It's about their movement. It's about how they move through life. So that feels, and I'm really fascinated by small movements and different movements and movements of bodies that I don't normally get to see. And I feel less, I could, you know, we did lots of dancing, but there's also some care in terms of how we see their movement and how we see their bodies and how much they want to be seen, you know, and that it's a very complicated thing to be seen moving in a way which is affected by pain. You know, it's a vulnerable thing. And so there's a care there in terms of how much we show or not, but I see a lot of movement in what they do, but I don't know. The question of whether it's screen dance doesn't really, I mean, I'm a dancer, I'm a dance artist, and I make lots of art. So I guess that, and it's on film, so maybe that makes it screen dance. But that question doesn't really, it's not one that I worry about particularly.
Perfect. Yes, I wouldn't. And but maybe, well, we are in Mexico. The festival is in Mexico, and the public is really expecting sometimes still see some ballet or whatever.
Right.
And this is very nice to say, well, why this is a screen dance? Because this is movement. So thank you. And do you guys have another comment about this piece?
It was mesmerizing. I could have, you know, it was mesmerizing. It was so gentle. And to me, it's screen dance. It's a movement of the camera and a movement of bodies, and it's being caught beautifully in sync. It's a collaboration between the two. So, yeah, I actually, you know, I felt very calm watching that. Yeah, and in I don't know if in England we have this term of the granddad shot. So if you give your grandfather a camera, he often cuts the head off. Often cuts the shoulder off. You know, the framing is what it is. And it reminded me of that. But, you know, we call that the granddad shot. Whenever I teach film, I always say, don't do the granddad shot. But it's a perspective of a person. It's a perspective. That framing is somebody's perspective. Mm-hmm. So it kind of plays with that. It's really playful film. But yeah, I mean, I could have watched that for a very long time and still would have found it very exploratory. You know, mesmerizing is a word that came into my head. So, yeah.
Thank you.
I really, really enjoyed it. Yeah, I also could have watched it for a very long time. It's really fascinating, particularly given this time, you know, that we have here, where like we're finding ourselves having to like continue to just live in boxes, you know, here in the Zoom world. I will. There are also here. There's a couple of other things about it. I think it makes an interesting point about I will not be ignored. You know, I mean, it's as if like the camera is trying to turn away and the people are insistent on, no, I will not be ignored. You know, I will be seen. So maybe your attention is drifting elsewhere, but I'm going to like keep myself front and center. The flip side of that, one could argue, is a narcissistic urge of like, I demand to be seen the whole time. My contrarian nature also would argue that I wouldn't call this a dance film. As much as I like it, I think it's a wonderful film. I wouldn't call it a dance film because to me, a dance film somehow triggers in the viewer an experience of dance. And this wouldn't do that. It triggered many other wonderful things from me. I really, really do like it. But I would never watch this and go, oh, dance. There's movement and it's a film, so it's a dance film. Yeah, I just wouldn't go there. Even within the framework of it being called a dance film, I think I would watch it for 30 seconds and then dismiss. No, it's not. Just keep watching it.
Well, I don't agree. I would call it screen dance because it has movement and because we cannot really say what is a screen dance and what is not a screen dance, and we could continue discussing and have texts written about what it is and what it is not. But as soon as somebody says, I am doing this as a screen dance, or a festival that says this is a screen dance that we release here, then this can be thought as a screen dance. So I would not really be looking for the truth about it. If Anna says she did it as movement, as her career, as a conclusion of something, then I admit it. So I think, well, this is the idea of experimentation.
I guess it's when does that question serve us? You know, when is that question useful? You know, that sometimes maybe it is. Most of the time, it doesn't seem like a particularly useful question. I'm not sure where we arrive at the end of it. You know, I think the form in this work reflects the concept. You know, that and it's about movement, but to say, I don't know, really useful question.
Well, I agree that it's a pointless question. I'm also only responding to that you brought it up, that you yourself had questioned whether you'd consider it a dance film. So I was just responding to that.
Yeah, no, it's not my question. It's not a question that I bring to my work particularly. I mean, most of the time, they do get shown. I am slightly surprised. They do get shown in screen dance festivals. I'm always sort of on the edge of a program.
Yeah.
And then we're right on the edge of a program, aren't we, in this? And it's nice to be with a group of others, you know. But a lot of the time it's shown in galleries. So it does fall off the edge into something else.
Yeah.
And that it's all right to hover, I think, for me. It suits me to hover.
I love things that push that boundary, and I think in posing the question that it just makes people look at it, even if they, and that's why I like to call this questions without answers.
Why you are asking me?
Or at least questions with wrong answers.
Oh, no, without. There's no answer. There's no way to say something clear about it. Well, if you want to say something, Thomas, we go for the next.
Well, maybe just a short comment. I was very excited, and it kept my attention all the time. And I think the reason was because it's a work about the dialogue between the visible and the invisible.
Mm.
So I was asking myself all the time, is this a dialogue with the camera? Is the camera moving automatically, or is this a dialogue with another person? And this was very interesting for me to imagine why the actors are reacting, and I try to imagine what I cannot see, what happens in the other side of the room. So this kept spinning around in my head. So what kind of dialogue do I see here, and what is the other part in the dialogue? I was interested in that. And it was kind of doubled by the fact that these two images are having also a dialogue to each other. And that maybe this ends in a question: did you intuitively put these two pictures together, or because they are both running, is it more a random how they dialogue to each other, or did you work a lot on how these two images are combined, because they also have a dialogue?
Yeah, that's a really good question. That's a good question. So they're two single takes, and there was a very strong limit on how often we could do things because of the energy and the discomfort that it would cause. So I think we only did 2 or 3 takes. So I selected one, and that's a finite amount. It's a found chunk of time. But when I started it, I played with that. So in terms of like exactly when I started them, so that you get the most interesting synergies going through. And then, of course, there's the music really shapes it. So that makes it look much more intentional than it was. So it gives it a form as you go through. But I think, that's interesting as well, that the kind of young Black woman and then the older man, that just seeing those two people together, I think I don't see that. I find that really interesting, just looking at those two people together, whatever they're doing. It's like, oh, this isn't a dialogue I'm allowed to see very often, or I'm offered particularly with what they're doing. But yeah, I think that's a really, you should look at the other version where you can see their whole body, and I'd be interested to see what you think of that, because that choice to show or not to show, I was really wrangling about that. So it'd be good to see what you think.
I mean, I really went into it without any information, and for me, I had the impression they are having fun, and they are getting crazy at the end, and even it's very minimal. But I thought they are showing a lot what they are doing here. So for whatever reason.
They are. But there's also like
pain. I didn't think about pain. I got this information afterwards.
Yeah.
I could also see
there's that, and the Callum, who was operating one of the cameras, he called it going the full bastard. So when he moves the camera from right down to right up, and he knows that John is going to have to get out of the chair to do that, he's like, it's really hard to resist that. So it's complicated, like what you're asking people to do and why you're asking them to do it. And that's interesting for Seema's work. I thought, the care around the curation of that movement was, I was really struck by that.
Well, I'm going to show you, this this comment by Maria Monteiro. Reasonable adjustments readjust me while watching. As a spectator, it is an interesting experience of watching, and the body moving is a screen that connects us. So this is a comment by Maria, who is watching us. I just wanted to show it.
Yeah, thank you.
Are you going to say something, Mitchell? Or
I was
Sima?
going to say that, Anna, I can see this piece as being an interesting installation to see like a whole wall of monitors of, and everybody doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also that I find this piece to be strangely a companion piece to Thomas's.
Perhaps there's an exhibition there.
Yeah, in a very strange way, of like somebody so formalistically kind of like sitting there, and then in a white austere space, and then another one with kind of nice paintings and an older feel to it and things like that, and where it begins to go askew the whole time. So
yeah.
Well, I would be very, very happy to have these pieces in a Bellas Artes museum, a big museum, on all these pieces and big screens, because they are quite experimental, and people will get I don't know, estranged and familiarized, and I would love to have them all in big screens in a principal museum in Mexico or whatever.
So get on it, Anna.
Okay, I'm on it.
So I would ask you to are you going to say something, Sima?
I was just going to say that I like the way that the camera is inspiring movement in your film. So, and that's a nice technique to explore. Let's explore that a bit further. Just when you said, "Oh, he did that move," I won't say the B word, but he did the move with the camera, and that made him move to the camera. It's that kind of like who is inspiring, who is doing what, who has the agency of that movement, and that's quite interesting. It's an interesting concept.
Well, you must have had to think really a lot about agency in your work, mustn't you? I mean, that.
Yeah.
Watch some levels.
I have to grapple with that with the last project. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to ask you, please, if we can see a little bit of this piece of Carmen, that Carmen is watching us, so we can speak a little bit about this piece. Maybe
I have to back out because I have to go teach now.
I know.
Sorry.
So everybody has to go now, or
No, I'm okay.
We can stay. Thank you, Mitchell. I'm very, very happy you were with us. Don't go, Mitchell, don't go. Come back with us.
Okay.
You are going to be a zombie at this moment.
It was lovely speaking with you all. I've had a really fascinating discussion. So best wishes to everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye, Mitchell. Bye. Okay, so let's see if you have time a little bit. We are missing just two pieces. So we see Carmen's, a piece of Carmen's at this very moment, please. Okay, this is part of Carmen's piece. It's a pity you don't understand Spanish, because in these messages there are important messages that you could understand. For example, it says, I would like you, I want you, but I want to kill you, or I love you, but everybody also loves you. So they are kind of messages a little bit violent. And I'm asking Carmen to explain a little bit. To explain her piece a little bit. But I don't know if you saw this film complete, or you have just seen this part.
No, I watched it earlier, and yeah, I found it really sad. It just made me feel sad. Just the proliferation, the intensity, the replication of that, teenage body, that the tropes that keep returning, and I thought, gosh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, yes, and this is
through something, or this kind of stuff, and trying to reach people. And my daughter is just turning 12, and so I'm really aware of this TikTok world, and this just the repetition of the images, and it's like it feels hard to create a space for her somehow to move through that. I don't know. So I think I have a particular perspective when I watch it at the moment that just feels like, wow, where's the agency for these young people? How can they reach each other?
What are we doing with these young people? I mean, what are they doing to themselves, living here and not living in the real life? And more during this pandemic time, they are there, they are not in life.
It's also about who can show himself and herself, and who cannot. I mean, it's a lot about standard expectations formed by media and society. I also like a lot this part where they all show emotion. I was thinking about, is this all Mexican telenovelas fabricated by the youngsters or something like that? I don't know. Yeah, it's shocking in a way. I was interested in, because it says part 2, what is part 1 about, and so
Well,
Carmen cannot be here, but yeah, it made me very, very curious about the other part as well, and yeah, it's quite obvious what it is about. I mean, but yeah, it's shocking to see it again. You know which cliches young people have to follow these days.
yes, I'm showing here something that Carmen says.
Okay.
Yes, this is a kind of found footage about how the people replicate the movements and how whatever she has not finished writing. So I tell you, Coreografías de la Información Part 1 was another work that Carmen also did for Movimiento and for other festivals, where she showed people dancing also in social media, but with a more fun point of view, because this is tragic. But in the other one was like having some bricklayers dancing just up the building where they were constructing, and dancing very Mexican, very cumbia music, and also pieces of people, how they show themselves dancing in social media. So Carmen continues saying how, like, alienated body will. So she's experimenting at this moment with. She's very sensitive. Let's say maybe she is not. She does not construct from a concept, but she constructs by seeing what's happening. She's young. She's about 29 years old. I don't know if I'm correct, but she is sensitive, and she feels that this is marking the people of her age and younger. So she feels the interest to show what is happening in life, as well as if you show a film on a crime that you think that this is happening to society and we should shout it. Well, she's seeing that something strange is happening and she wants to show it to us.
We certainly need to see it, because, you know, the fact that it's all Instagram, you know, this has all been captured on Instagram. It is a culture that we say young people, but I feel that many generations after are going to follow this culture of Instagram. And it's with us, and it's with us to stay. I feel like it just keeps evolving itself, like TikTok's out. What's going to be the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing? You know, and it is really sad to see the need for the Generation X, or whatever generation they're called these days, to have this self-profiling on digitally, you know, using phones, and, you know, particularly with the body, you know, showing the body off in whatever way that you want to. It's very competitive. It's very false in lots of ways. We can edit things in the way that we want to using digital. So it was good to see in the film that you kind of almost saw the story behind the images. You know, you saw people crying, you saw people, you know, the kind of maybe the truth behind it, or maybe the lack of control that you really have with this sort of medium. I was filming a house. Kind of somebody moved into a house, and their house was completely exactly like a showroom house. It's exactly what you'd see in a magazine. The person was a young person. The whole thing was her whole house decor was inspired by what she'd seen on Instagram. So the whole thing was, her whole life was Instagram. You know, she was on Instagram. Her house was Instagram. I was just like, wow, this is just completely different to my upbringing in the way that I see the world. I guess we'd call that real life, but I think this life, Instagram life, and how that is real to this generation. So yeah, it's almost like we need to see more of it to grasp what is happening. yeah, so it kind of, you know, it's an eye opener, I guess. If that makes sense.
Yes, a lot of sense. Nowadays, it's some young people feel through this social media. They feel through it, and if they don't say their life into the social media, they don't feel they lived. They feel the necessity to be showing everybody some part of their life, if they are crying, or if they are eating, or if they are happy because they had a birthday. A birthday is not a birthday nowadays if they don't show it in Instagram. So this is really something particular. This is a sickness, as all the sicknesses we have in society. I'm going to show you this by Maria Monteiro, that says, I concede with this feeling that Anna said, for me, the emptiness of and sadness. On the other hand, this work creates with and about what is happening now and with social media, how people are. Thank you, Maria, for your comments. Okay.
Yeah, interested as well in the, you know, the TikTok edit, you know, that the length of time that we're used to seeing in that format, and how they, you know, they jump cut, and, you know, just thinking about your work, Thomas, you know, that you're extracting something from that, aren't you, and showing us it in a really purely formal way. But they've really absorbed that construction of time, you know, that actually the idea of sitting or durational is hard. You know, you cut out the dead time, you just get to the sort of key points of things, and that's really fascinating as well. That capacity to stay with things comes through repetition rather than duration, you know. Yeah. Okay,
thank you very much. I think we go first for Simas. That is the last one we are going to see today, because we are over the time. So there it goes, suspended motion, a piece of it.
Suspended motion, a screen dance film. A vast black room, accented by spotlights. Two dancers, Joe and Caroline, are in the space. Joe is a man in a pink shirt. Caroline is a woman in an orange jumper. Joe moves with power. He and Caroline lead two other dancers, Susan Becker, dressed in black. Together they reach and softly bend. Holding hands, Joe and Becker. Turning. Leaning. Rippling. Joe dances a solo, swinging arms, circling his head. He leans on Becca's back. Now Caroline leads Susan Becker. Turning once, she smiles. They listen with their hands. Turning. Now they're all together, hands on shoulders, one behind the other. Brushing fingertips. Caroline moves with curiosity. Two couples leaning backwards. Now Joe and Caroline, they dance a duet. She feels him turn. As his hands touch the floor, she rests her hands on his back. Joe at the front. Heads held high. Heads together, waiting.
Well, this is it. We might see more. But Sima, could you tell us how do you feel in this experimental program, and why you did this film? I mean, it's a lot, but you could.
Yeah, well, I like the theme question. Now, what's it? Questions without answers.
Yeah,
because we certainly don't have answers for our film that we made, which was to try and see how film can present an experience of dance, particularly for those who are deaf and blind. So how do you do that? That is a question that was asked to me 2 years ago. I saw a group of complex disabled dancers. They attend a rehearsal, they attend dance classes at CETS, who provide arts provisions for those who are deaf, blind and complex disabled. I went along to see a sharing, and I was absolutely, for me as a filmmaker, I could see that had to be captured on film. I was like, we need to capture this, and we need to show the rest of the world how somebody who experiences dance through their senses, and then they said to me, well, we do like that idea, but how does somebody who's deaf and blind experience what you just made? And then I was like, oh, that's the biggest question ever. That is really, really big. So we went on a journey. It took me a year to convince the organization to make film, because we battled with that whole concept of why film. And then we started to look at different avenues of how film could present dance. So they're using audio description, and then we went down the route of technology. So the score that you hear in that particular dance film was turned into sounds, which were then turned into vibration. So you can actually feel that whole dance film through a sub pack. Sub packs are what gamers wear all the time. People who play computer games have always got they have chairs where they vibrate when you play the computer game, and you also can wear these sub packs. So you can actually experience that whole dance film, the feeling of dance, the vibrations of dance through these sub packs as well, which is an installation that we want to take to galleries, but obviously we can't do that right now. So this was part of those two, that experimentation. So both Joe and Caroline in the film are deaf-blind and complex disabled. So our whole notion of this whole film was, who are the leaders in this film? And it was so important to us that it came from Caroline and Joe. So me as a filmmaker and the two dancers that were with them, Interaction, we were very much led by Joe and Caroline. The room is dark for a purpose, because that's where they rehearse, but also that's what they see. The lights in the room are coloured because they did get a sense of the warmth from the lights and a sense of some light. So we kept the environment as Joe and Caroline would experience an environment. And then we kind of went through different improvised pieces. Were not instigated. I can't figure the word now. I said the word for your film. Influence movement, inspired movement. So yeah, it explores all of those things really. And I think when we shot the film, we really had about 40 minutes. We were all on standby with whatever cameras that we had, and they had a sense that I was there, because I would speak that I'm here, I'm filming. And what was really great is that even Caroline and Joe, the two dancers, really pushed themselves choreographically and just in the way that they were moving through the space, because it was a film, which added another layer of investigation. They realized, they knew it wasn't a rehearsal, a normal dance class that they attend, that it was a very different environment. So that's what the film tries to capture, and we want to build on that now. How do we bring all these different elements together to carry it forward. In a nutshell, that's what the film is trying to explore. A lot of things.
Thank you. It's marvelous. Anna?
I love this film. And what really struck me was I watched it before I watched your interview. And so, and that's really interesting about the curation of this festival, having the interviews. I think that it's great. The choice of what order you encounter the work, whether you hear about it, see it. But anyway, I watched it. And so as I said before, I didn't realize it was kind of audio description. I thought of it as a compositional, artistic choice, so that I was hearing a narrator who was narrating what I was seeing. And I thought, this transforms it for me. And what it does is it allows me to become aware of and bypass my biases, my difficulty in seeing difference, my what could be a sentimental engagement. It lifted that from the film. And I think, film of difference and disability and complex disabilities is often hard to look at, because you say, well, on what basis am I looking at this? Why am I being allowed to look at their body? What is it that invites me in or gives me? But here, having that, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm looking at the movement, and I'm looking at two people moving, and yeah, that's that person doing that, and that's that person, and it was the matter of factness drawing me back to the movement, the material, the quality of their movement, which is extraordinary and different from the other dancers in a way that the other dancers are not going to be able to achieve. I thought that was such a sort of smart device. And then I realized that, it wasn't for me anyway. And so my hugely kind of privileged, the world revolved around my way of looking, with my whiteness, my and my middle classness. Well, that went out the window as well. So I had this kind of second layer of going, ka-chunk, oh yeah, that wasn't for me anyway. So I hugely enjoyed that. It just lifted something for me. I thought it was great. So thank you.
Yes, thank you, Sigma. Would you like to say
there's a firework display happening outside my house. It's really loud. I don't know if you can hear it.
I paid for that. I loved your film so much.
Really? We paid for that? So I just want to put myself on mute because it's free. I did get a letter saying that we're going to do a big firework display. I didn't realise it was today. But I'll just put myself on mute.
Well, sorry. Thomas, would you like to say something? And we are just about to finish, and our life continues here at home of everybody.
I'm curious about your role, Sima, in this project. I imagine that this dance project is a long-lasting. What is your role exactly? Are you working with them as a dance choreographer, or is your role really more the documenting role as a filmmaker? Or I didn't quite understand where the process. Because you cannot find it in the comments. Yeah,
so it was really a collaboration between myself and the choreographers, who are the two girls that you see in the actual film. Yeah. And we came together, and the group's much bigger, and because each week they go to these dance sessions, purely for well-being and also for connection with others, and they're in a very safe environment and very safe space. And when I saw the actual just a sharing of the work, I just thought, well, we need to collaborate and see how we can create something, a dance film from this. So I didn't choreograph it, but we had about 6 rehearsal sessions, or just fireworks. We had about 6 rehearsal sessions where I came along and just worked. It was the 5 of us just together, moving together. And I always had a camera with me just seeing how I could move in the way that Caroline and Joe were moving. And so over those 6 sessions, we then came to one final day where we thought, well, let's film something, you know, let's get the camera crew in and see how we can move amongst Caroline and Joe's movements. So everybody was improvised on that day, but it's very much a collaborative effort, and it's not so much of a documentation, but more of a how can the choreography work with the cameras and tell us what to do through their experience. So yes, it kind of captures moments, really.
No, I really enjoyed to watch it, and also the music plays an important role in the perception of the. So yeah, I got interested to understand more about the process behind and what the group is really doing, and if they are doing public doing this for public as well, or is it, you know?
Yeah.
Are they performing on a stage, or is it more like?
No, so the Caroline and Joe wouldn't be. One of the main things about making a dance film was because Caroline and Joe wouldn't be able to tour because they are complex disabled, and they're very kind of set in going to the one place performing. They've done a few performances in the same place, in that place that you've seen them filmed. Yeah. So it was really key to us that we needed to find a way of enabling Caroline and Joe to tour, you know, as would any other dancer. But because, you know, they may be deafblind and complex disabled, but they can have a digital tour. So that was one of the main things that we really wanted to do as well, to capture that. How would, if they were to do a performance, you know, how do we give that a platform, really? And the music itself, you may hear a girl's voice in the music, kind of making vocalizations. She's also deaf and blind, and so she is a vocalist, and she went into that room that they performed in, and she used her voice and felt the vibration coming back to her chest. From that, she makes noises, you know, but she's unable to hear her voice. She's unable to see where she is. But we really felt that was really important, that she vocalized. We had a sense of what her experience was in that room, just as much as Joe and Caroline show us how they feel their dance in that room. I feel the film has a really big backstory, which is lost because it's only 2 minutes long, and we need to say a lot more about the process, really, of how we've got to that point. We would like to make a documentary that really talks about how it was made and why it was made.
Now that would be great, really.
Yeah.
When I watched that, I don't need that. I don't need it at all. I feel, I mean, it would be an interesting thing to do, but that feels to me like that's another project. Here, it feels like you're just showing me really fascinating movement by people that are moving in a way that I don't often see. And so for me, it feels like that's just very evident and very present. You know, it's very embodied, it's very present, it's very soft and visceral and care, and so that it feels very entire to me. Is as 2 minutes of enjoying. You know, I really enjoy their movement, and I don't know whether I'm being honest with myself, but it feels like that's not a sentimental thing. Oh well, gosh, I'll have this body that does this, and you don't have that. You know, it does. My fantasy is that I'm bypassing those processes and I'm straight to the sort of fascination of the movements down and up and through and out from the center to the limbs, and the quality of the movement and the listening through the movement. They're listening through the movement is so notable in the way that you film it, and that's hugely skillful to capture that.
Well, yeah, I agree that this is absolutely good and beautiful and enough and entire. But I also would love the second part. I mean, what is back? Maybe it is not necessary here to show what it is, but maybe you have something really interesting behind that could be another project to show. I would not say no to show in the other part.
No, I think it's just that I didn't need it. I didn't feel I needed additional information to appreciate their dancing. It's not that a documentary wouldn't be really fascinating to see how you arrived at that, and to, you know, to see what they made of the film, what they, you know, what their sense of it is, would be really interesting to know.
Thank you very much. I'm going to show you. So sorry, Anna, please come.
No. It's like...
I'm going to show you just this comment by someone by Maria. I like the simplicity and honesty of the gesture and movement. It seems something so big and touching when shared experience, when we are affected, in fact, by each other. I love it. And I think we are about to finish. I think it's a lot of fun for having you here. So I have just some words that we have said here that I would like to bold. We spoke about humor. We hope about digital art, about things that come from dance. Well, films that come from dance or films that do not come from dance. We were speaking about scratching film, about what is significant in convention with everybody who speak about screen dance, if this is significant or not. We spoke about creativity, about the celebration of movement, about being a narcissist. We spoke about the form reflecting the concepts. We spoke about showing emotions, etc. I would stay with those ideas, and that's it. Thank you for being here. Would you like to say something?
Thank you for asking us here. It's really been delightful to, you know, to see other people and to feel part, you know, get a sense of being part of a program. It's been really nice. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Sima, Anna, and thank you, Michelle and Carmen, for being here. So we are finished. And have a good day. Have a normal day. Sima?
I agree with Anna.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's been really great to be part of it and meet new people as well. And wish you all the best of luck with getting all your films out there.
Yeah, you too. Maybe I'll see you in Birmingham sometime, Sima.
Yeah, please come. Everybody's welcome to come to Birmingham anytime. Yeah, fantastic.
Take care.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Okay, bye.
Thomas, Sima. Goodbye.
Bye.
See you then.